Step into our realm of empathy and understanding, where we navigate the intricate pathways of relationships and nurture connections that stand the test of time. Today, an unusual sense of joy enveloped Olivia. The cause of her elation was the proximity of her long-anticipated respite. With just a few days remaining in her current job, the promise of an imminent vacation kindled a spark of excitement within her. Having efficiently accomplished her work tasks, she set her course homeward, oblivious to the delightful surprise awaiting her. Upon arriving at her abode that evening, her spirits soared higher than their usual perch. A heartening sight awaited her in the hallway, a toothpaste box that unmistakably belonged to her husband. A knowing smile curved her lips as she assumed he had taken the initiative to prepare for their upcoming getaway. Historically, Liam, her spouse, had never been a paragon of packing prowess. However, on this occasion, he had not only undertaken the task himself, but had also included a travel pillow, a gesture that tickled her and warmed her heart simultaneously. Back home, my dearest Liam, Olivia chimed with a cheerful announcement as she breezed into the kitchen. Yet, her elation swiftly waned as a disconcerting scene unfurled before her eyes. Liam occupied a seat at the kitchen table, cradling a glass of wine in his hand. His attire diverged from the usual laid-back casualness, instead resembling an outfit prepared for an imminent departure from the house. "Sweetheart, what's happening?" she inquired, her brows knitting together in confusion as she looked at him, seeking clarity. Olivia, now wearing her parents' hat, observed Liam with concern, noting the solemnity that had taken over his usually lively demeanor. "Are you about to head out somewhere?" Her words were tinged with bewilderment. Liam, his demeanor tinged with a weighty pensiveness, began to explain. "I have to step away for a while, dear. I need to find some time for relaxation and rejuvenation. The truth is, I've been grappling with a sense of despondency. I fear I might be wrestling with depression." Olivia regarded her husband, a mixture of confusion and worry clouding her eyes. "Love, I don't quite grasp what you mean. Can't you hang on for just one more week?" Olivia found herself at a loss, struggling to grasp the abrupt shift in her husband's emotional landscape. "You wouldn't understand, Olivia," he responded with a touch of brusqueness. "Your workplace is always abuzz with positivity, supported by your wonderful team. Meanwhile, I'm here, battling these lows, yearning for a respite." His gaze wandered, ultimately landing on a bank statement lying on the table. With a sinking feeling, she examined the document, discovering with dismay that Liam had moved the hard-earned savings they had diligently amassed into his personal account. Gripping the statement, her voice carried a mix of disbelief and hurt. "Liam, what kind of depression are you referring to? We've been diligently setting aside this money for our joint vacation, our dream trip to the Bahamas. I've been eagerly anticipating this moment, and now you're proposing a delay due to your job not permitting time off." Liam's response was swift, his tone carrying a tinge of exasperation. Olivia felt her own frustration welling up. "I never implied that my job is holding me back from vacation," she retorted. "In truth, I spoke with my superiors today, and I'm finishing up this week. Moreover, we never settled on a specific date for our journey. Why are you planning your getaway now, especially when I can't accompany you?" "Your logic seems to be eluding you today, Olivia," he admonished with a touch of frustration. "I've conveyed my weariness to you. I've reached my limit with this dismal, chilly weather. My soul yearns for a change, a warm and tranquil place. And what about me?" she interjected, a sense of being overlooked evident in her tone. Her husband's response came as a mere shrug. "Practically speaking, it's not feasible for you to join us. Your work commitments are binding." "I don't comprehend the necessity of this debate. As the head of the family, I have the prerogative to determine what's best for us." Liam's brows knitted, his irritation unmasked. As he continued to pack, she observed the process, realizing that his intentions were earnest. He was resolute about departing solo without her. "But Liam, that's hardly equitable," she protested, her sense of injustice welling up. "We amassed this savings jointly. If you can't wait for my availability, at least take your portion. When I eventually secure my leave, I can either join you or make alternative plans with my share." Liam paused, his gaze fixed on her, devoid of empathy. "What is it that you desire, Olivia? Should I stay and subject myself to a nervous breakdown? Ponder over how to divide the money? Fret about running out? Here's a proposition. If any of the money remains, I'll bring it back. And Olivia, I'm about to make a substantial request. Please, don't shatter my present disposition before the journey. In my mind, the trip is already in motion. I've even booked a flight for this very night." His audacity caught Olivia off guard, leaving her taken aback by the fact that he had already taken steps as concrete as booking a ticket for that very evening. Her ability to form words seemed to slip through her grasp. A sharp ache constricted her throat, and she found refuge in her room, seeking to evade the heartbreaking sight of her husband's departure. The recent times had been marked by an unspoken unease. He had been veering from his usual self, arriving home late, engaging in unusually prolonged conversations. However, she couldn't quite fathom the cause behind this sudden shift in behavior. Initially, Olivia had dismissed these disquieting thoughts. The prospect of confronting them head-on was formidable, a prospect she found daunting. She was averse to lingering on suspicions that could very well turn out to be baseless. Instead, she opted to approach the situation with a composed perspective. Could she be overreacting? Perhaps it wasn't completely uncommon for married couples to embark on separate journeys once in a while. Yet, the echoing slam of the front door reverberated, causing Olivia to start. Could he really be leaving without a farewell? The notion felt implausible, she reasoned. Tentatively, she emerged from her seclusion, only to be met by the stark reality that her apprehension could indeed materialize. Just as the edge of tears seemed imminent, her attention was drawn to an object on the table. Liam's cell phone lay there, an item of his personal belongings that she hadn't expected to see left behind. Illumination briefly danced across the screen, signaling an incoming message. She read the words before her with a jolt of surprise. "I'm already at the airport waiting for you, babe. Call me when you get there." Before she could fully process the message, the creak of the front door heralded Liam's return. Note: in the previous response, you provided some additional context and details that were not present in the original text. I focused on rewriting the provided passage while trying to maintain the tone and flow of the narrative. He regarded Olivia with a tinge of suspicion, snatched up his phone, and left a swift peck on her cheek. "I need to hurry, my love. No need to worry," he assured. For a moment, Olivia stood frozen, then rallied to hastily dress before dashing out the door, frantically waving for a passing taxi. The ride to the airport felt like the longest, most agonizing journey she had ever taken. While she wasn't sure where to find him, they stood out conspicuously, impossible to miss. Their mannerisms echoed the affectionate exuberance of infatuated high school sweethearts. The other woman, younger than Olivia, stood by his side. A gasp slipped from Olivia's lips, her hand instinctively covering her mouth as she watched the scene from a distance. This was the moment of revelation. 5 years of marriage. 5 years of thinking we were a contented family, she ruminated, her thoughts spiraling. Olivia and Liam's narrative had unfolded during their college years. Their story began in an English class where Liam arrived late, finding only a single vacant seat, conveniently beside an exceptionally beautiful girl. Olivia, radiant and striking, she possessed a beauty that often left many men too daunted to approach her. Ironically, this lack of attention chipped away at Olivia's confidence, leading her to question her own allure. So when Liam mustered the courage to take the seat beside her, she was immediately captivated by his audacity. However, in Liam's perspective, he felt he had no alternative. Being near such a captivating girl was oddly comforting to him. It wasn't due to an excess of confidence. Rather, he believed he was virtually invisible to her. With the assumption that he stood no chance, there seemed to be no stakes or anxiety involved. When a class discussion prompted their interaction, Liam discovered that Olivia was not only stunning, but also possessed humility and kindness. This realization might have been the turning point, the instant when he recognized the potential to win Olivia's heart. Gradually, Liam grew more at ease conversing with her, disregarding the apparent gap in their social standing. One day, he extended an offer to drive her home after class. By semester's end, they embraced an official relationship. Following their graduation, they progressed further, culminating in marriage. Yet, the walls of their marital felicity had now crumbled. Liam had squandered their hard-earned savings on an escapade to the Bahamas with his paramour, while Olivia was compelled to resume work the next day. Her home became a silent echo chamber, the absence of her husband's presence a constant reminder of her solitude. In the face of this solitude, she found herself without a confidant, a source of counsel, or even an outlet for her pent-up emotions. Olivia had grown up without a father figure, the void of his presence leaving an indelible mark. She had never tasted the guidance, affection, or shield of a father's love, a hollow gap that left her feeling perpetually incomplete. Those around her had asserted that time would heal this absence, urging her to move beyond it. Paradoxically, the years had intensified the void instead of erasing it. Upon reflection, she realized that she had tolerated Liam's unacceptable conduct for so long due to her unfamiliarity with how a man should genuinely treat her. The realization was a searing ache, intensified by her current state of desolation, devoid of anyone to turn to in her sorrow. At the tender age of 18, Olivia's world crumbled with the loss of her mother. While residing with her aunt, she perpetually occupied the role of an outsider, despite her aunt's insistence that she be treated on par with her own children. Olivia, however, understood the stark truth. There could be no replacement for the boundless affection only a mother could provide. Her tenure with her aunt's family persisted until she could escape to college. During the initial flourishing phase of her relationship with Liam, cohabitation felt like an idyllic haven for Olivia. Every corner seemed bathed in brighter light, and their dwelling cocooned them in warmth and love. However, the passage of time unveiled a less appealing aspect of Liam. Gradually, she realized he was acutely aware of her vulnerabilities, which he subtly exploited for his own gain. Though Liam was employed part-time, a reality she initially accepted, Olivia devoted herself to full-time work without resentment toward his ostensibly more relaxed schedule. But beneath the surface, an unspoken expectation began to weigh heavily on her shoulders. Domestic chores had become her exclusive domain. Each day saw her waist-deep in soiled laundry, locked in a battle against stubborn stains and a ceaseless onslaught of wrinkled garments. Her hands bore the perpetual marks of dishwashing, cracked and worn from the unending parade of plates. The remnants of her meals served as silent witnesses to her unacknowledged efforts. As for cooking, that was a realm apart, fraught with its own challenges. As if following a steadfast ritual, every evening would find her in a dance of pans and pots, crafting delectable meals for Liam, who often appeared lost in his own realm. Amidst this, she maintained a silence, opting to swallow her frustrations rather than give them voice. "It's just one of those things," she would mutter, attempting to downplay the burgeoning resentment that simmered within her. Her mother's departure during her formative years had left an indelible void. Living under her aunt's roof, Olivia perpetually felt like an outsider, despite her aunt's insistence that she be treated as one of her own children. Yet Olivia knew otherwise. The void left by a mother's love remained irreplaceable. She endured this situation until the opportunity to escape to college finally presented itself. In the initial bloom of their relationship, sharing life with Liam resembled a paradise for Olivia. The world seemed bathed in brighter hues, their dwelling radiated with joy and affection. However, as the pages of time turned, Olivia began to unveil an aspect of Liam that was less enchanting. She came to realize that he held a deeper awareness of her vulnerabilities than she did herself, deftly exploiting them to his advantage. Liam's part-time employment, initially accepted by Olivia, stood in contrast to her full-time commitment. She didn't begrudge him his seemingly lighter schedule. However, she soon recognized an unspoken burden on her shoulders. Household responsibilities rested on her shoulders alone. Each day unfurled with her waist deep in soiled laundry, battling tenacious stains and laboring over rumpled clothes. Her hands bore the cracks and marks from the ceaseless pile of dishes she washed. The remnants of her meals stood as silent witnesses to her unheralded efforts. As for cooking, a realm unto itself, it posed a distinct challenge. A nightly ritual unfolded, a symphony of pans and pots dancing in her hands as she conjured savory meals for Liam, often lost in his own world. Amidst this, she held her silence close, a choice made to swallow frustration rather than vocalize it. "Just one of those things," she'd mutter to herself, a quiet downplaying of the burgeoning resentment that she harbored. 3 days into her mourning, a clash erupted between Liam and Olivia. "She's gone, Olivia. Stop bringing her up." Liam's voice thundered, his patience worn thin. "And for God's sake, quit the tears." He exploded. Olivia's reply was a shaky voice, "Liam, it's only been 3 days." In truth, her tears had been relatively few. Her grief was a quiet current coursing through her heart, more felt than seen upon her face. Yet Liam displayed little grasp of, or patience for, her subdued sorrow. Back in the bustling airport, Olivia snapped back from her reverie to the harsh reality. A part of her wished to confront Liam, to channel her anger toward his paramour, but the chance had slipped away. They had vanished into the throng as the airport buzzed with travelers dashing to catch their flights. She stumbled onto the street, her vision blurred by tears. As she blindly navigated the crowd, they adeptly sidestepped her. In her emotional haze, she sought refuge in a quiet alley and discovered a bench veiled in snow. She sank onto it, allowing her tears to flow freely. Time seemed to lose its shape as Olivia surrendered herself to her grief. The biting cold eventually roused her from her sobs. In her emotional fog, a blizzard had stealthily descended. She stood, brushing off the snow and rubbing her frost-covered eyes. Her lashes glistened with ice crystals, an image that would have been beautiful if she could truly appreciate it. As she moved toward the alley's exit, a figure caught her attention, hunched on the curb and shrouded in snow. Her initial thought was that the man must be out of his mind to sit in the freezing cold. Lost in her own turmoil, she almost disregarded him and continued on her way. Yet, a fleeting glimpse of his vacant, desolate eyes tugged at her heartstrings. Driven by impulse, she pivoted and approached him. Digging into her pockets, she located some cash and extended it to him. His melancholic gaze met hers, but he didn't reach for the money. Instead, his gaze wandered back to the distant horizon. Caught off guard, Olivia found herself blurting out, "Excuse me, sir, do you need some help?" To the query, there was no response. Her own actions perplexed her. What was she doing, offering aid to a stranger who wouldn't even acknowledge her? In a desperate attempt, she ventured, "Could I perhaps get you a hot cup of tea or something?" A faint glimmer of a smile tugged at the corners of the man's lips. Encouraged, Olivia didn't wait for a reply. She entered a nearby cafe, procured hot tea and a sandwich, and returned to the man. Regardless of her own burdens, assisting this man evoked a gratifying sense of achievement. It was as though she could momentarily set aside her own concerns. She offered the man the steaming cup of tea and the sandwich. His gaze lifted to meet hers, this time reflecting gratitude. As she walked away, a lingering warmth in her heart provided a modicum of solace, lightening her emotional load. Hailing a cab, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned to find the man standing there. "I'm sorry, miss. I forgot to thank you," he said quietly. She responded with a faint smile. "It's no trouble at all. We all face challenges in life. I hope you find your way out of yours." "Thank you," he replied, beginning to walk away slowly. Observing him shivering in the cold, a sudden urge surged through her. "Wait," she called out. "How about coming to my place? You can warm up, and I can prepare a hot meal." The man appeared taken aback. "Are you sure? I'm just a homeless man." Olivia shrugged. "Seen any royalty around here?" "I guess not, but it's unconventional. Most people avoid me," she concluded with a note of understanding. Flighting down a taxi, Olivia's gesture prompted a kind smile from the driver who held the door open. However, his expression shifted to one of discomfort as Olivia extended her hand to help the homeless man into the vehicle. "I can't believe it. Are you really taking him?" he exclaimed. "He's not getting in my car, lady. Sorry, but look at him. He's clearly not clean, and he smells bad. I'm canceling your ride." "Who's going to pay for the dry cleaning?" the driver retorted. Her anger stirred by the driver's disrespectful attitude, Olivia clenched her jaw. She reached into her purse and retrieved a wad of cash. "Would this change your mind?" she questioned, offering him the money. The driver accepted the money, quickly counting the bills. His grin broadened as he recognized the generous sum. "All right then, get in," he acquiesced. The substantial amount Olivia had given the driver seemed to turn him into a chatterbox. He rambled on about the weather and the usual low fares he encountered. Upon reaching their destination, the driver sped away. Entering her warm abode, the homeless man let out a contented sigh. "It's so warm in here," he remarked. Olivia gestured. "I'll heat up some food. You're welcome to warm up inside or take a hot shower. There are towels and a robe in the bathroom for you." The man expressed gratitude. "I know I'm imposing, but I'm grateful for your offer. Things have been rough, especially without access to a proper bath," he admitted. Olivia found herself questioning her own sanity multiple times. After all, she had welcomed a total stranger into her home. She didn't even know his name, yet here he was, occupying her bathroom. No matter how often she examined her choice, she struggled to discover a logical rationale. It had been an impulsive decision, born in the heat of the moment. Her life was now on an irreversible trajectory. As Olivia added the final touches to the table, the man emerged from the bathroom, looking rejuvenated and clean. Olivia couldn't help but gape in surprise before finally remarking, "You appear like a completely different person." A chuckle escaped him in response. Meanwhile, Olivia had managed to set the table during his absence. Sitting across from her unexpected guest, Noah, whose name she had learned by now, occupied the chair that had once been Liam's. As he savored the warm meal before him, he showered it with compliments. His words held more weight than a passing comment. They conveyed genuine admiration for the flavors he was experiencing. Listening to him, Olivia experienced an epiphany. It had been an eternity since she had received any form of appreciation. In Noah, a man who remained a relative stranger, Olivia found a perceptive observer. He noted the nuanced aspects of the dish, praising the delicate blend of spices and the harmonious fusion of flavors. This straightforward act of acknowledgement, earnest and spontaneous, kindled something within Olivia. A spark of excitement raced through her heart. She came to realize just how accustomed she had grown to having her labor of love go unnoticed. For so long, she had toiled tirelessly without a word of gratitude or a hint of acknowledgement. Yet, with a handful of heartfelt words, Noah had managed to validate her efforts in a way that felt profound. And for this, a warm sense of appreciation enveloped her. In the company of Noah, Olivia discovered a solace that emboldened her to inquire, "So, Noah, what's your story?" As the words left her lips, a sudden shift in Noah's demeanor caught her attention. His easy smile wavered, replaced by the glint of unshed tears in his eyes. It was evident that delving into his past was a path fraught with sorrow for him. Merely 2 short years ago, Noah's life epitomized the sought-after normalcy. A loving wife, a cherished little daughter, and a warm suburban home painted a portrait of idyllic domesticity. Plans for a joyful family outing to celebrate their daughter's 6th birthday had been in place. They all had eagerly anticipated the little getaway. However, destiny had divergent plans. As their car navigated a rain-soaked mountain pass, it skidded precariously and careened over the guardrail. In that heart-stopping instant, Noah's world crumbled. His wife and daughter, the very core of his existence, were cruelly wrenched away in the tragic mishap. Amidst this cruel twist of fate, Noah himself survived the wreckage, physically unscathed yet emotionally shattered. As he recounted his tale, the pain in his voice reverberated in the room's stillness. Olivia could sense the anguish etched into every word. The agony of losing those he cherished was a weight Noah struggled to bear. Enveloped in a sea of guilt, he blamed himself relentlessly for their untimely departure. What was once a home resonating with the joyous laughter of his daughter and the tender whispers of his wife had now metamorphosed into a harrowing ordeal. Within those walls, every memory echoed, every crevice a painful reminder of his loss. To numb the searing ache and escape his tormenting thoughts, he sought refuge in the bitter embrace of alcohol. Yet this transient escape rapidly morphed into a detrimental habit. Consigned to his cocoon of self-reproach, he rebuffed those who extended a helping hand. Be it friends or family, all attempts to extract him from his abyss of despair were met with an impenetrable wall of rejection. For Noah, life had relinquished its allure, its essence swallowed by the obscurity of his grief. His deepening addiction and the hollow echo of his family's laughter reverberating through his desolate home began to exact a toll on his professional life. He encountered numerous warnings from his employers, yet each admonition seemed to fall on deaf ears. Inevitably, the axe fell, and he was dismissed. A handful of months later, his finances dwindled, and his debts amassed, culminating in his eviction from the very home that had once stood as the heart of his world. A life that once brimmed with affection and laughter had now tumbled into an abyss of unending desolation. Noah's daily quest for sustenance transformed into a relentless struggle. Initially, he resorted to scrounging from dumpsters, a demeaning ordeal that left him ensnared in hopelessness. However, as he gradually mastered the art of survival on the streets, he unearthed a handful of restaurants willing to extend a helping hand to the homeless. Dining establishments, specializing in baked goods like bagels and sandwiches, often possessed surplus fare they were prepared to share. Initially propelled by the guilt that stemmed from the heartrending loss of his family, he plunged into this life of destitution. Yet, with the passage of time, he recognized the toxic toll of homelessness. The unvarnished truths of life on the streets began to weigh him down, ensnaring him in a cycle of despair that felt increasingly inescapable. The existence he'd initially adopted as a form of self-punishment now held him captive, its grip tightening, threatening to consume him entirely. Olivia absorbed his story with a heavy heart, her compassion palpable. She reassured him, urging him to release himself from the blame for the accident. She implored him to grasp that a life dominated by guilt was scarcely worth living. Her words held earnestness, infused with both empathy and sagacity. She painted for him a vision of a promising future that lay ahead, if only he could relinquish the burden of self-blame and initiate the process of rebuilding his life. Throughout their exchange, Olivia sustained unwavering eye contact, her gaze exuding warmth and comprehension. Her gentle smile remained constant, extending comfort and acceptance to him. For Noah, who hadn't basked in such kindness and warmth for 2 long years, her benevolence proved to be overwhelming. This interaction with an utter stranger, someone who had not only provided him with a hot shower and a meal, but also shared genuine empathy and counsel, cast a ray of hope into his otherwise desolate existence. The glimmer of hope he experienced was distinct from anything he'd encountered in the preceding years. For so long, he had meandered aimlessly, dwelling on the streets, nursing his guilt, and drowning in his grief. He had almost forgotten the sensation of having a purpose, a goal, an aspiration for a future that transcended mere survival. Meeting Olivia, absorbing her compassion and understanding, and heeding her words of encouragement had triggered a transformation within him. He felt an intense pull, a stirring in his heart that urged him to break free from the shackles he'd imposed upon himself. He commenced envisioning a future where he could stand tall, where the pain of his past would not dictate the trajectory of his journey. The desire for change, once a fleeting notion, now surged within him as a compelling force. He yearned for the warmth of a home, the security of stable employment, and the healing embrace of human connection. Above all, he yearned for self-redemption, an opportunity to absolve himself, to reconstruct his life from the remnants of its ruins. At one juncture, Noah recognized that he was still clothed in a borrowed robe. Springing to his feet, he regarded himself with an air of awkwardness. "Is this your?" he began, only for Olivia to offer a rueful smile. "It's all right, don't worry about it." Noah retook his seat. After they finished their meal, he rose to collect his soiled clothes. Sensing his unease, Olivia assured him he could use her washing machine and stay the night. "I'm sorry for being such a burden. I'm not even sure how to thank you," Noah expressed, his words laden with gratitude. "It's perfectly all right, Noah. Don't worry. Everything is fine," Olivia reassured him. "Thank you again." Noah hesitated for a moment before venturing his next question. "Olivia, may I use your computer, please?" he inquired, hoping to break the silence that had settled between them. "Of course, feel free," Olivia responded, gesturing to her laptop. As Noah began navigating her computer, Olivia settled into the living room, her mind awash with her own tales of hardship. She yearned to unburden her heart to this stranger who had bared his deepest pain to her. Yet, the words seemed to stick in her throat. Summoning her courage, she rose and approached Noah. "Noah," she began, her voice quivering slightly. "I don't want you to think less of me for letting a stranger into my home. It's just that my husband, well, I'm not quite sure how to explain this. Today, he went on vacation with his mistress." Noah's fingers halted over the keyboard, and he turned to face her, his eyes registering surprise. "Really? That happened? Olivia nodded, offering a succinct overview of her predicament. Noah shook his head in disbelief. I thought things like this only happened in movies. I'm truly sorry to hear that. So, what's your next step? Olivia heaved a heavy sigh before responding. I'm planning to file for divorce. But there's a complication. Noah leaned in, his eyebrows knitting together, before releasing a gentle chuckle. Let me get this straight. Your husband is off gallivanting with his mistress, and you're concerned he won't approve of divorce. The absurdity of the situation was palpable, yet it held no humor. As Noah gazed into Olivia's eyes, he detected a blend of fear and confusion. This woman, kind and unassuming, radiating beauty in her simplicity, was ensnared in a vortex of emotional turmoil. Are you afraid of him? Noah inquired softly. Olivia hesitated before admitting, I don't know. We've spent 5 years together, and now I'm just uncertain about what to do. Noah offered a sympathetic nod. Rest, Olivia. We'll figure something out together. With that, Noah shook his head once more and redirected his attention to the screen, weariness settling over him. Olivia decided to sprawl out on the couch, seeking comfort in its familiar embrace. The next morning, the gentle chime of her alarm clock roused her from her slumber. As she stepped into the living room, a sense of emptiness greeted her. Noah was no longer there. A note on the end table caught her eye. It read, Thank you, until we meet again. The sudden hush in the house felt overpowering, and Olivia was unexpectedly hit by a wave of loneliness. The quiet seemed to magnify the absence of his presence, as if she had lost something precious. Seeking to fill the void, she shuffled into the kitchen to prepare her morning coffee. The ensuing 2 weeks passed in a blur as Olivia poured herself into her work, immersing herself in her tasks until late into the night. Exhaustion became her nightly companion, lulling her into sleep as soon as she returned home. 3 days after Liam's departure, Olivia mustered the courage to initiate the divorce process. Methodically, she packed up all of his belongings, including the robe Noah had worn after his shower. With every item she stowed away, she felt a weight being lifted off her shoulders. All that remained was to serve the divorce papers, return his possessions, and erase him from her life. Taking precautionary measures, she changed the locks on the house. This dwelling, inherited from her parents, was her haven, the one thing that was unequivocally hers. Yet, a subtle unease lingered, whispering the possibility of a struggle to maintain it. Oddly, her thoughts drifted more to Noah than to Liam. The homeless stranger who had entered her life had revealed himself as an entirely different person. It was a stark contrast, and Olivia found herself reflecting on him frequently. In the wake of her husband's betrayal, an unexpected emotion emerged within her: relief. No longer ensnared in the web of deceit, she was liberated from the facade of a man she once believed she knew so well. Often it's a familiar tale. Everyone else is aware of the betrayal except the wife, who remains oblivious until the last moment. In Olivia's case, the truth had been unveiled, and while the revelations were painful, they held a certain liberation, an opening for her to rebuild her life on a foundation of truth and self-discovery. Such situations can often leave them feeling foolish in the eyes of others. Olivia's disposition brightened in tandem with her newfound freedom. She envisioned herself crafting a fresh salad, indulging in a romantic movie, and relishing a serene evening at home. However, an ordinary evening after work saw an unexpected disruption to her tranquility. As she approached the house, she noticed Liam pacing near the front door, seemingly affected by the cold. The knowledge that she had blocked his number on her phone caused a small surge of satisfaction. He hadn't managed to intrude on her day earlier. Liam's voice was harsh as he demanded, "Olivia, what the hell's going on? What did you do to change the lock? And my phone, why is it blocked? And why am I freezing out here? In response, Olivia met him with a composed demeanor, a faint smile gracing her lips as she began to explain. I changed the locks, Liam. And I've blocked your number, she calmly declared. The element of surprise flickered across his features before being swiftly replaced by anger. Have you lost your mind? Who do you think you are? Give me the keys now, and you can go for a 3-hour walk in the cold. See how you like it, Liam retorted, his satisfaction palpable. Observing his reaction, Olivia had a stark realization of how accustomed she had grown to his manipulative behavior, how frequently she had let him exert control over her in the past. Instead of yielding keys, she presented a document to him. Here, these are divorce papers, she informed him. Liam accepted the papers, his confusion evident. Who's divorcing who? He asked, his bewilderment plain. Olivia sighed softly, gathering her strength to address the truth. Liam, I know you didn't go to the Bahamas alone. I saw you with her, she confessed. You can retrieve your belongings any day, just not today. I don't want to see you today. Liam took a moment, his breaths heavy, before realization dawned upon him. His tone shifted surprisingly to one of misplaced confidence. Well, guess what? You're a rat, tailing me like that. Good wives turn a blind eye to such things to salvage the marriage, but you chose the difficult path. I'm a young and attractive man. I'm interesting and women flock to me. James continued his boastful assertions. Olivia, however, interrupted him with a resolute tone. Well, then you won't have to spend the night on the street, she stated, her gaze shifting down the driveway. Unfamiliar vehicles had entered her typically quiet neighborhood, a convoy of 3 large SUVs, a sight unprecedented in this setting. In that moment, James seized her hand, his grip tightening. You're going to do what I say. You thought you could just leave me like that? Well, you were wrong. I'm going to make your life miserable. Give me the keys. Now, he demanded, his other hand poised to strike her. Olivia shut her eyes, bracing herself for the blow. But suddenly, her hand was released. Olivia? Are you okay? A voice, familiar and reassuring, reached her ears. She opened her eyes, disbelief filling her as she registered the sight before her. It was Noah, standing protectively in front of her, his knuckles reddened. Behind him, Liam struggled to rise from the snow, while a couple of formidable figures stood between Noah and Liam. A smile crept onto Olivia's face, her heart touched beyond words. It's you? She uttered, a mixture of relief and amazement in her voice. Noah met her gaze with a reassuring nod. Yes, it's me. I was afraid I wouldn't make it in time. A glimmer of hope danced in Olivia's eyes as she processed Noah's presence. Do you have any more of those delicious meals? Noah's question was punctuated with a smile that illuminated his eyes. Olivia, overcome with emotion, managed a nod, tears welling up. The accumulated tension and stress within her seemed to burst forth, and she buried her tear-streaked face into Noah's chest, her tears soaking his costly coat. Noah gently patted her back, offering comfort as he whispered softly, Hey, it's okay. Everything's okay now. Liam, struggling to regain his footing, watched the scene with a mixture of shock and disbelief. His arrogance had given way to stunned realization. Noah's arrival not only shielded Olivia from the immediate danger posed by Liam, but also marked a turning point in her life. It marked the pivotal moment when she finally released her grip on her past and bravely embarked on a journey towards a new and potentially brighter life. Liam, on the other hand, watched as his world crumbled before his eyes. His threats seemed feeble in the face of the irreversible loss of Olivia. Meanwhile, Olivia settled in front of the television, brewing fresh tea as Noah began to divulge a part of his life he had kept hidden from her. The words Olivia had imparted about shedding the weight of the past and embracing the future struck a chord deep within him. Unbeknownst to her, she had guided him to rediscover his purpose and resilience. Noah had returned to his former job, eliciting joy and relief from colleagues who had longed for his presence. As a Secret Service agent, he held a critical role, and his first priority upon his return was to ensure Olivia's safety by establishing a protective detail for her. "You brought me back from the brink, Olivia," he confessed, his gratitude palpable. "I couldn't ignore the kindness you showed me." Olivia stared at him incredulously, attempting to process the revelation. "Secret Service, huh?" she echoed, attempting to reconcile the information. Noah nodded, sipping his tea thoughtfully. "Yes, I've been part of it for years. When I lost my family, I lost myself too. I left everything behind and fell into darkness. I couldn't even reach out to my colleagues. But you reminded me that life has value, that starting anew is possible, even when it seems the world has come crashing down." Olivia was left momentarily speechless, a whirlwind of emotions flickering in her eyes. Surprise, confusion, gratitude, and something Noah couldn't quite pinpoint. After a brief pause, a small smile graced her lips. "Thank you for everything." The serenity that now enveloped Olivia's home stood in stark contrast to the chaos that had unfolded just hours earlier. The rapid sequence of events left her reeling, with Noah's departure shrouded in uncertainty. He hadn't made any promises or given any hints about his future actions. He had merely expressed his gratitude and departed. Remarkably, despite Liam's actions, Noah had discovered a silver lining. With a touch of sarcasm, he even managed to thank Liam for inadvertently catalyzing positive change. If not for Liam's affair, the paths of Noah and Olivia might never have intertwined. Noah voiced his gratitude for this unexpected yet significant encounter, adding another layer of intricacy to the day's events. 2 days slipped by, characterized by mundane work routines and serene evenings at home. The emotional roller coaster of the previous days had begun to ebb, leaving Olivia with an unprecedented tranquility tinged with curiosity and a touch of anxiety about the impending future. One evening, after a taxing day at the office, Olivia was making her way home. Amidst the familiar surroundings, her heart skipped a beat as she noticed a figure standing a short distance from her front gate. It was Noah. Bathed in the soft hues of the evening sun, he stood tall, casting an elongated shadow on the pavement. His gaze fixed in her direction, Noah's face brightened with a smile. Held delicately in his hands was a bouquet of flowers, their vibrant colors a vivid contrast to the fading daylight. His appearance was a stark departure from their previous encounter. He was impeccably groomed and dressed with precision, a far cry from the disarrayed figure she had initially met. The despair that once clouded his eyes had now been replaced by a sparkle of hope and what seemed to be genuine happiness. In that moment, Olivia's recollection of her ex-husband's father's words resurfaced. "You, my dear, were never meant to settle down." Now, she comprehended the depth of those words. Olivia's voice held a warm gratitude as she expressed, "Thank you for being a part of my story, for listening and sharing. I hope you found enjoyment in it and gained insights. If you did, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more tales like this. Remember to leave your thoughts and feedback in the comments below. Until next time.